We have a very special guest this morning. His name is Attorney Haas, and we're going to say hi to him, and just find out basically what he's actually doing. I don't know which way I'm going to go here. Hello?
Yes. Hello.
Good morning, Mr. Haas. How are you doing?
Okay, Trevor. How are you today?
I am doing just fantastic. Let me just turn this down here. Okay. I just want to get this out of the way. I sound like if I'm in a tunnel, don't I?
I'm sorry?
I sound like if I'm in a tunnel, but you sound like if you're loud and clear. Keep going.
No, you sound okay. You sound not too bad.
Okay, great. All right, I just had to hang this phone up. Well, this morning, folks, we're going to be speaking with Attorney Jules Martin Haas.
It's 20 minutes to 6.
And thanks for that.
Let's do this all the way from the top, everybody. This is one of the most...
We're having extra music coming in there. We don't need that. Mr. Haas is an attorney that does something that everybody is going to encounter sometime in their life. It's the encounter with wills, trust, and estates. I think just about everybody, Mr. Haas, somehow gets involved in this. Am I right? I mean, people don't even know what it is. And then, bam, it hits them. Somebody dies or, there's somebody's getting a little incoherent. And you have to sit down and try to figure out what they're going to do with their property. Otherwise, it goes into, surrogate court?
Well, what happens is that if you don't have a proper plan, you may end up being stuck with the disposition of someone's estate pursuant to the New York State statute, which requires that a person's next of kin receive their property. And many times, person doesn't want their next of kin, particularly where it's a relative, let's say a distant cousin or whatever, who they really don't have any contact with. So yes, people, really should be aware of this and do some upfront planning, and also be aware that there are attorneys such as myself that can provide assistance after someone passes away or becomes incapacitated to help with dealing with those types of matters.
Well, sir, let's just start with the fundamentals. Because realistically, the more I talk to people about this, and people hear it on the show and they talk to me, I realize that a lot of people don't have a clue as to what a wills, trust, and estate lawyer does. So why don't we go into the fundamentals? You deal with when somebody passes. Your law office deals with who gets the property, who is entitled to the property based on either marriage, based on relationship, based on all these criterias. But there's more to that. There's not only when somebody passes, it has things to do with when people are incapacitated. They're getting Alzheimer's or whatever, condition that might put them into... where they're not coherent. They're not, they just can't talk to people and tell them what their wishes are. How do you deal with some of this? Just give us some of the areas that, the things that happen that you will have to intercede.
Sure. Well, first off, if somebody passes away, what we would need to deal with in many cases is probating a will, if somebody has a will. And we're doing an administration if someone doesn't have a will. But during lifetime, many times persons, for various reasons, whether it's an accident, whether it's a serious illness, whether it's old age, dementia, whatever, may not be able to handle their affairs. They can't handle their property decisions. They can't handle their personal decisions. And so in those cases, many times what we have to do is go into court and have someone appointed as a guardian for them. This is typically under, without getting too technical, Article 81 of the Mental Hygiene Law, and it allows for the court to appoint the guardian for property management and personal needs for someone, This way, if they're in the hospital and they can't really make decisions for themselves or access their bank accounts or deal with their real estate, there'll be a court-appointed guardian, usually a family member, whether it's a spouse or a child or some other close relative, to do this. And guardianship requires a hearing in front of the judge for determination of incapacity.
Well, those are the two main areas, but I'm quite sure it gets a little more technical than that, where, you have people like my mom who will never succeed, never submit to somebody taking over her property or having, although she's having slight dementia, she will still fight it to the end. Who determines that? The court determines that? Or a doctor has to come in and determine that, whether she's capable or not? Okay,
so the court makes that determination, and if you're bringing a guardianship proceeding, the court has to, once you bring the proceeding, there's an actual hearing in front of the judge. And the judge makes a decision whether or not the person is incapacitated. And basically the judge has to find that they're not able to handle their affairs and that they will basically be at risk or suffer harm if a guardian isn't appointed. And during the course of that hearing, certain proof will be presented to the judge, whether it's in the form of some type of medical testimony or evidence, or whether it's just, people that know or have seen that person and testify as to the fact that, the person can't handle their bank account, they've been spending money, they've been subject to some type of abuse, and that happens very often. You find older people who are not capable of handling their affairs, and somebody tries to insinuate themselves in their life and take advantage of them at a time when they're not able to deal with their own issues, properly.
Wow, this is very comprehensive. It's very detailed stuff, and I guess to the average person, once this hits them, they have to know where to go. Let me just take this minute off and give out your number, because I know that people are going, oh my God, that's what I was looking for, because they did not know where to go with this, and I know that is a fact. If you want to get in touch with Attorney Jules Martin Haas, his number is 212-355-2575. He's been doing this for over 33 years. He's not a rookie. He knows everything about these scenarios, so he can help you. 212-355-2575. Let me give you that number one more time again. I know a lot of you are driving, or you might be on the job and looking for a pencil, but get the number. 212-355-2575. Now, I want to direct everybody to your blog, but I guess they have to go through your website, right?
Right. My blog is called New York Probate Lawyer Blog. I write an article every week about either a guardianship issue or an estate issue, such as probate. But yes, they can go to my website also, which has a lot of information, which is juleshaasattorney.com. And it's even easier if you just go to Google and you type in my name, which is Jules, Jules, H, and last name Haas, Haas, and then you'll just get to my name, and then you can see my website, and then you can click on that. It's very easy to get to, and there's a lot of information in there about guardianship and estates, and a lot of other advice as far as preparing a will, preparing a power of attorney, preparing healthcare proxy. There are many aspects to this, as you've pointed out in our various conversations.
Well, I hope that everybody who's shocked that we are talking about this, and that this is kind of like what they need to look into right now, because I know people die every day. So, there's incidents where you have to, talk to somebody like yourself, a wills, trust, and estate attorney, and get some great information. You just directed everybody to your website. I recommend that everybody goes and checks out the blog and the website. But the easiest way to get in touch with Attorney Haas is the number 212-355-2575. You can educate yourself on the web, by looking it up and reading. But if you don't understand it and you want a verbal clarification as to what to do, how to move forward with this, again, the number 212-355-2575. Attorney, let's just talk for a second about people, and I know I talked about this before, but I know this is big in our community, where people, instead of getting a divorce, they just separate, and then one person dies. This is big. I don't know if it's big from your end, but it's big, in our community. People just leave their husband, leave their wife, never get a divorce, and then somebody dies. Talk a little bit about that before we leave.
Sure. Well, when somebody, particularly in the case of an estate, when somebody dies, a person's spouse has certain rights to inherit under the law. And typically, when there's no will, a spouse is entitled to the greater of $50,000 or 50% of the estate. The fact that one spouse or the spouses may have been separated for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, it really doesn't matter. When a person dies and they have a surviving spouse, that surviving spouse is entitled to inherit. The only way to defeat that is to prove that the surviving spouse abandoned the deceased spouse during life. And that's a very technical term of art, and it's also very difficult to prove, because the spouse or the person who has the most information about the abandonment is the spouse who's deceased.
Oh, my
and
God.
The living people have the difficulty of trying to prove that, particularly over a long period of time. So it does get very complex. And one thing I did want to just add to what you said before is I have folks calling me up at my number all the time, because I do have free consultation. And so people call me up and ask me questions all the time. And, I encourage anyone out there who has a problem or a question to call me.
Well, folks, you heard it directly from Attorney Jules Martin Haas. If you have any questions, and this is very complex, we cannot handle this in 10, 15 minutes, but you can call Attorney Haas at 212-355-2575. I'm going to burn this in your brain housing group. Again, 212-355-2575. That's the direct connect to Attorney Jules Martin Haas. And if you can, please check out his website and his blog for a lot of information. Thank you very much for dropping in on us, getting up this early to talk with us and educate our folks as to how this thing works. Thank you very much, Attorney.
No problem, Trevor, and you have a wonderful day.
All right, you take it easy, sir.
Thank you.